Hello, Marengo Mike here, bringing you another best of COS Indiana Live broadcast. So settle back and enjoy. We'll see you all back here again next week.
I get discouraged for sure, and I will quit fighting at some point. And that point is when the first shovel of dirt hits the top of my box 6 feet down.
Greetings, everyone. This is Dale Parrish, COS Today host. This is December 30th, and as you can probably see here, this is a recording. Yes, everyone at the COS Today staff is off for the Christmas holiday session. So we're putting together a recording for you, and I hope you enjoy this and look forward to seeing you back on January, I think it's January 6th will be our next actual live broadcast. Anyway, what we want to bring to you, oh, by the way, I want to hope everyone has had a very Merry Christmas, and I hope you're planning a happy and safe, especially a safe New Year's. So what we thought we would bring to you this evening is we're going to replay the two segments that we presented earlier in the month on the January 6th Pardon Project. And we felt like this was an important interview, these two parts, because pardoning the J6 individuals and people involved in the January 6th situation has been one of President-elect Trump's day one objectives and promises. So we're looking forward to that happening as he had promised. So I thought that replaying these two interviews would be very, very pertinent to the situation, to the current situation. Now, so we will be presenting that as part of this broadcast, the replay of those two interviews. Now, in addition, before we get to those, I want to give you another update on a couple that we have been following for some time now, for a couple months, Mark and Jaleese Middleton. Now, if you recall, they are the founders of a group called the American Patriot Relief Fund. Now, this is just one of the many funds and organizations, nonprofits out there that were created to support the January 6th people involved, and not only the individuals that participated on January 6th, but their families and relatives. A lot of needs that have been created as a result of what's been happening to these individuals. So Mark and Jaleese created the American Relief Fund, American Patriot Relief Fund, to help support these individuals and their families. Well, of course, they are also prisoners. So I'm going to present to you the last update that I did on them. We presented that on December 9th on our program, and I'm going to replay that for you. And then once that is completed, then I'm going to come back and give you another current update because, yes, more has happened to them since this update that we gave to you on December 9th. So without further ado, let me go ahead and start that video. It's a few minutes long. Hope you enjoy seeing it again. And then I'll be right back and we'll give you a current update on what's happened to these two individuals. So here we go. I know your sentencing date has been changed a number of times, right?
Correct.
And I'm sure there's reasons for that, but your next date is October 22nd. Is that correct?
That is correct. They've changed it monthly ever since May 24th, and now we're scheduled for October 22nd.
Well, I can't imagine how that must feel. That, I mean, you're basically still prisoners in a way, right?
Yes, we are on home confinement. So
home confinement.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And every time and this keeps getting delayed and delayed. Wow, I don't know, guys. We got to wrap it up here on this segment. But I want to bring you back, and we're going to continue on with this because there's a lot more to talk about. So, will you come back to us?
Absolutely.
All right, we'll be back to you very shortly. Thank you.
Thank you.
Guys, I don't know what else to say, but other than thank you for what you're doing. You're certainly, I think we can say Convention of States is right there with you as far as reining in the breadth and control of the federal government and addressing overreach. So best of luck to you, and I hope we'll touch base with you as time goes on and see how things are going with you.
Absolutely. The difference will be made at the polls. That is going to be really the only way to save the January 6th defendants is for everybody to go to the polls. And let me tell you, just like Trump told you years ago, they're not after him, they're after you, and he's standing in the way. They're not after the January 6th defendant anymore. They're after you, and the J6ers are standing in the way.
So
I don't think we could close out any better. So thank you very much, Mark and Jaleese.
Thank you,
Dale.
Greetings, everyone. Dale Parrish, COS Indiana Live host. I wanted to bring you an update on this couple, Mark and Jaleese Middleton. The clips that you just watched came from our interview with them. Part 1 was on October 7th, and part 2 was on October 14th. And in those clips, as you watched and heard, their sentencing finally was to take place on October 22nd. And yes, these are J6 prisoners. So I wanted to bring to you a quick update on that sentencing. It did take place, and I'm going to show you. This is a picture of Mark and Jaleese on October 22nd after their sentencing. Jaleese was sentenced to 20 months in prison, 36 months supervised release. Mark was sentenced to 30 months in prison and 36 months supervised released. Now, the interesting thing, I believe, is these sentences take effect January 21st, 2025. It's kind of an interesting date, isn't it? Anyway, I've gotten to know these people, and I think they're really good people. These are a prime example of what has happened to many of the people that were involved in January 6th. So all I ask, folks, is that you keep Mark and Jaleese Middleton and their fun American Patriot Relief in your thoughts and prayers. Thank you. All right, that was the last update that we presented to you on December 9th. And as you recall, at the very end, I said how interesting the January 21st date was that the sentences were to take effect. Well, things have changed, and I'm going to bring up here a picture of these two, Mark and Jaleese. Those sentences that were to be effective January 21st got moved up to December 17th. So these two individuals, as of the date that you're viewing this broadcast, they are already in prison. And they are in separate prisons, obviously, men's prison and one for female prisoners. So I wanted to give you the current information on them. And like I said, their sentences, we don't know why the sentences were moved up to December 17th, but they were. Okay. Now, there's various theories going around as to why this happened. But anyway, don't know for sure, but they are in prison as we speak, as we are speaking right now. Now, this is a picture of Jaleese. She's at the federal institution called Carswell, which is located in Fort Worth, Texas. Now, let me show you where Mark went. Mark went to the Federal Correction Institute in Beaumont, Texas. So these are both Texas residents. So they are both in institutions now in the state of Texas. And like I said, they have gone there effective December 17th for some reason. Now, I want to give you their addresses for each one of them. And this is important. I would encourage you to write them a letter. I think while they're in, I know that they will love getting any kind of email or any kind of mail. I have personally written both of them since December 17th. And you can see there, Jaleese, her address is, of course, there in Fort Worth, Texas. And Mark's address, of course, is for the institution in Beaumont, Texas. So I would encourage you and ask that you take the time to drop them a line, and let's just hope and pray. Please keep these individuals in your thoughts and prayers, and let's just hope and pray that the new president, new administration holds true to their promise on day one to pardon these defendants and individuals like Mark and Jaleese. Folks, if you're familiar with their story, they never went into the Capitol building. All right, they were there, but they never went into the Capitol building. So these both have been, of course, found guilty and sentenced to prison terms. So this is a prime example of defendants that should be pardoned. So I hope you enjoy this update, and certainly if any other updates come along on these two individuals, I'll be happy to pass that on to you. So I hope you enjoy our show tonight. Again, we're going to be presenting to you the two interviews with Suzanne Monk of the J6 Pardon Project, and hopefully their efforts will pay off and be of help to the president in bringing about the pardons that he had promised. So hope you enjoy, and I'll be back later to close out our broadcast this evening. Thank you. Greetings, everyone. Dale Parrish, COS Indiana Live host. We have a very special guest for you this evening, and I've been excited about this interview, especially given the results of the election and the work that we have done to date on the January 6th people that were involved in that. As you know, we've interviewed a couple prisoners and some other people that have been part of the support network. And the guest that I'm going to bring to you tonight heads up a group called the J6 Pardon Project. And this is, especially given the results of the election, this is a group that I think is, the time is right for them. The time is right, and they're going to be doing I think, a valuable service. So I want to bring on the young lady that heads this project up. Her name is Suzanne Monk. So let's bring her on right now. Hello, Suzanne.
Hello, Dale. How are you? And thanks for having me. And thanks for considering me a young lady. I'm very middle-aged, but I appreciate it nonetheless. I appreciate it.
We're all young. We're all
young. And frankly, I think I got a little bit younger the night of November 5th when they called it for my president. I think that put 10 years back on my life. So
I think it did that to a lot of us.
Yeah.
But I totally understand what you're saying. So Suzanne, before we're going to jump into your website and jump into the project itself, give us a little background on yourself. I know you've been an activist for some time, so a little background on yourself, if you don't mind.
Well, yeah, actually, Dale, I started way back in the early 2010s or whatever. I was a stand-up comedian for about 15 years, but my husband and I lived in Chicago. I performed there. We ran a small music store. We got canceled back in 2017, 2016 because of our support for President Trump. And we decided to move here to the Washington, D.C. area and make sure that we could fight the good fight for the principles that we've all actually seen unfold and be fighting for. All of us have been fighting for the last 8 years, and now we're going to get another 4 years to really continue that fight and put, some real repairs to this country. This country's been in a lot of problems. So we came out here to DC. I started my activism work, started a little PAC at the time. It was called Stand with POTUS PAC because we were certainly standing with President Trump. We've since become Patriot Action PAC. And what we do is basically engage in political action, getting people involved, making those phone calls, making those emails, engaging that citizen engagement as far as politics are concerned. And we launched specific projects. We've been working specifically with the J6ers about J6 since 2021 when we started launched the activism push to get 4 members of Congress to go to the DC detention center, the DC gulag as they call it. We were successful in making that happen. And some changes have occurred since then, and that certainly started this ongoing relationship with Congress members and with the January 6th community, where the truth has really started to become revealed. In 2023, we dropped off copies of, I think I have a copy here to show you. We delivered copies of the American Gulag Chronicles, letters from prison, real January 6 letters created by Tim Rivers, Marie, others did a beautiful job. And on this book, you can actually go order that at American Gulag Chronicles if you'd like to. We delivered a copy to every single member of Congress, all 535 of them.
Really?
So
wow.
that was an effort we put in to make sure that they had the information, that they had access to information about the plight of these January 6 defendants who were being held pre-trial, who were being held in solitary confinement, who were being denied medical care, denied access to their attorneys, denied due process in court. And so we made sure that Congress had no excuse. That's what we did in 2023 with Operation Yellow Ribbon. And then this past year, we started the J6 Pardon Project in January to work towards what we believed and we had faith God would provide the president. And what we then wanted to make sure is that he had all of the tools necessary to make sure that that pardoning process went smoothly, quickly, and that strategically. So the DOJ has already put in place. We've seen the lawfare, we've seen the corruption, and we actually, in researching, it came to be aware to me. I came to know that they have pitfalls put in place to undermine the pardoning process as well. So we've tried to strategize around those landmines, if you will, and we certainly have created the strategy guide for that purpose, but we've also created the J6 Defendants Database, which is going to be a very useful tool to sort through those cases, be able to review them as categories very quickly, and be able to focus on the cases that are going to require any time or attention. The president's going to be able to get his team to do that very quickly with those tools. So we're excited to
folks,
get those in his hands, and we've been pushing all year for the public support.
It's going to be difficult for me to control her. She just goes on and on and on. So
I do. That's what we've been working on, Dale. We've been working on it very hard.
I know she's been very excited about this. But Suzanne, tell me, where were you on January 6th? You were there, weren't you?
Well, I live in DC, so I was definitely in town, and my husband and I went and parked in the locked off zone, the little marked off zone that Muriel Bowser, my mayor, Muriel Bowser of DC, blocked everyone off from going in and out of. No traffic in and out. The residents were very frustrated. I don't blame them. She certainly made it harder on them. But we went down and we stayed in front of Trump hotel right there throughout the day. We got a chance to see all of those crowds walking from the Ellipse and Trump's big speech, walking towards the Capitol. And we got to hear reports as people were coming back from the Capitol of what was going on, and of the police brutality and the suspiciousness. In fact, I remember standing there that day, and a friend of mine came and said they broke the doors open. They unlocked the doors. And I said, no, they didn't. They opened those from the inside. And they said, why do you say that? I'm like, well, because I know the building. I know the Capitol building. Those are magnetic locks, electrically locked. And in order to open those doors in any way, you have to unlock those locks. You have from the inside with the magnetic locks. So I knew that's about the building, having been familiar. So even from day one, I always say I was a J6 truther on J6. I was already trying to tell the truth about J6 as it was happening, Dale. And that's where I was at. And we stayed there the entire day until after curfew. We did get a chance to go to see what was going on at the Capitol during the evening. And we spent some time there while they were preparing to do that historic and utterly unconstitutional vote, where they voted to not allow the challenges to the certification. And Congress actually that day broke the Constitution by selecting the electors for the states. There's one specific thing that the Constitution says with regards to the electors, and that is that the states select them. The states choose their electors. And what happened that day was that Congress voted to strip the states of that authority and that power unconstitutionally. And I've been saying that for 4 years as well. And that's what we got a chance to sit and watch happen outside the Capitol building with the news media and the rows and rows of officers posing for the cameras, really, because they weren't doing anything else at the time. So that's where I was on January 6th.
All right. Well, as you know, we've talked to some people that were actually there on January 6th. I mean, actually involved in what happened there. So I just wanted to want everyone to know just where you were at that time.
Right.
But so about a year or so ago, then you started the J6 Pardon Project. And I want to give everybody, we're going to go to their website and talk about some different areas of their web. It's a very good website. It's jam-packed full of information. But this is the address of the website, j6pardonproject.com. So you definitely want to check this out, because like I said, it's a very, very nice website. So Suzanne, let me bring that up, and we'll start going through this in some detail here. We don't have time to go through it in extreme detail, but I want you to comment on a few things here as we go along here. I think, if I recall right, the first thing you said you felt like you needed to do when you created the website was create this strategy guide. Am I right?
Well, yeah, and that's because I launched this project really the research part started back in November of 2023 when I was talking on Core Links on the prison communication app with my friend Zachary Rio, one of the 5 Proud Boys, and he was talking about the prospect of Trump getting elected and those pardons, and had a lot of ideas about how that would work, and it made me start to want to research and learn if he was correct, and if my gut felt a little nervous. And what I found in those months of research was that there are a lot of concerns and issues with regards to the pardoning process, and that there are specific strategies the president can take excuse me, that would circumvent these problems. Number one is replacing the current U.S. pardon attorney. The U.S. pardon attorney oversees the U.S. pardon attorney's office, and that is the office that basically operates as the pardon secretary for the president. It facilitates all of the pardons that the president issues. They print out the text, they send it to the person, they engage in the communication. That's their job as the U.S. pardon attorney. They also take requests. They take individuals who are seeking a pardon, and they have about a 14,000 case backlog right now. That's not a very good way to get a pardon, but that is their main 2 functions, and who oversees them is the U.S. pardon attorney. And for many years, and under President Trump, and of course President Obama before, there was an acting U.S. pardon attorney who served very well, who did her job perfectly, who was able to issue pardons from people on both sides of the aisle. And this is the kind of thing you expect from someone in that position, a nonpartisan functioning of her job. In 2022, that person was replaced. Rather than elevating her to official U.S. pardon attorney, she was replaced with Elizabeth Oyer, who is a Georgetown and Harvard graduate, somebody who is very left-leaning politics connected, and has certainly worked to make the U.S. pardon attorney's office more woke, as we call it. So
yeah, we're gonna get into
that. That's step one, Dale, is to replace her. That's the kind of pitfalls we see, and we wanted to create a strategy to help the president know them and circumvent them.
Okay, so this strategy, folks, this is if I remember right, this is about a 65-page long document that you created here. And obviously, we're not going to have time to go through this or take the time to do this, but this is basically lays out what needs to be done on this. And so this is available on the website.
Yes.
So everyone can go through.
Yeah, and you can download a copy for free. We've made that publicly available. We really just want the information to be something that gets out there and is shared. And in fact, we've made it available to purchase on Amazon so that you can send it into your January 6ers that are currently incarcerated. And we've sent in, I think we've got over 75 copies into inmates so far. I'm really excited that folks are getting a chance to read it. They're inside the folks that it is most relevant to. Okay,
Suzanne, we're running out of time here. I want to jump over here to the defendants list real quick, and we kind of skipped over this, but there it comes. You've got the names on here of all the people that have been arrested or served time or now serving time or have but this is a database that you've built, right? And that you're building.
This is the list of names with the full database has your name, your case number, your list of charges, your list of convictions, your sentence, your incarceration information, all of that information, so that can readily be used to gather the information necessary to provide that pardon. I put out the list of names so that people can check, make sure their name is spelled correctly, make sure that their J6er is here on the list. And this has been a very
how many names are on this list?
1,565 is the current list total.
So this alone is going to save the pardon team a lot of time.
Just gathering all the names, yes, because it certainly was required cross-referencing a great deal of lists and doing a lot of research. The DOJ does not have all the arrestees listed on their database that they have publicly available. So it took some digging. So even just getting the names, but we have all of their information that is going to be necessary to sort them out. Everybody who's pre-trial, for example, Dale, they don't need a pardon. They need their charges dropped, the record cleared, and they need to go home. And that's something Trump can do with an executive order. So, being able to sort those groups out very quickly, that's something the database is going to make very easy. Also, sorting everybody out with only those 4 misdemeanors, that's going to be really easy. Making these large batch reviews quickly possible, and certainly can take weeks and weeks of time off the process. We're really excited to get into the hands of the team, and we're looking forward to, I believe, Pam Bondi now putting together the task force that will be ready to do that.
Okay. Suzanne, I got the clock is telling me I got to wind up here. Will you come back and let's start again on your website with the 6 steps to justice? Okay.
Yeah. Let's do
Can
that.
you do that for us?
Certainly. That'll be
okay.
Good.
Hold on. We'll be back to you. Well, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Again, Dale Parrish, COS Indiana Live. We've been interviewing Suzanne Monk, who heads up the J6 Pardon Project. And we ran out of time in this first segment, so I wanted to bring her back on because we got some more things to talk about here, some very interesting things to talk about. So I want to get right into it and get the rest of this covered. So let me bring Suzanne. Hello, Suzanne. Welcome back.
Welcome. Thanks for having me back, Dale.
Good to have you back. I wanted to pick up where we left off, Suzanne. I want to bring back up the website again that we were viewing, your website, the J6 Pardon Project. And let me bring that back up here. Okay. And I wanted to pick up with what you call the 6 steps to justice. Yes, so you want to tell us what the 6 steps to justice are all about?
Yeah, the 6 steps to justice are the basic 6 steps that we included in the J6 Pardon Project strategy guide, which, as you showed in your earlier episode, you guys can download and read right there off of the website and read all of the advice we gave the president. But these are the 6 basic specific steps that we put in the book, in the guide, that we think are most critical. Obviously, number 1, I think we talked about it last time, fire Elizabeth Oyer. She is horrible. She will slow down the process, and she is certainly going to be in the way. So I think that kind of explains itself. But the second step is to issue that pardon. We know that the president has promised pardons on day 1. And we don't want him to just issue pardons in any normal, ordinary, old, usual way, Dale. We're asking him to do something a little bit specific, and that is to use what is called the proclamation style pardon, just like Jimmy Carter did for the draft dodgers. It's a pardon you can still go and apply for today. You can still file for on the U.S. Pardon Attorney's website today. It allows you to file for that pardon and receive that pardon at a time frame of your choosing. That is so critical to these J6ers who are in the middle of appeals. That's one of the pitfalls the DOJ has set up, making sure a lot of these folks are in the middle of appeals as President Trump gets into office and is offering those pardons.
But you point out here that there are actually 3 types of pardons, right?
Yes. Well, yes. And so that style of pardon is critical. The proclamation style of pardon is critical. But there are, in history, we did many, many hours of research on the types of pardons. And I worked very closely with Tamara Lee, who worked with the Pardon Flynn Now project, who worked on General Flynn's pardon, which was the first ever pardon of innocence, one of the types of pardons that we have listed here in the guide.
Okay. All right. Interesting.
So let me tell you just a little bit quickly about a pardon of innocence, Dale. Pardon of innocence stipulates not only the traditional things we know of a pardon, which is to remove the conviction, free the individual, but it asserts the innocence of the individual. And it's something that's only been used at the federal level 1 time. for general flame, but it is used at the state level all the time. In fact, some state constitutions have it written into their constitution to use a pardon of innocence, and that pardon of innocence expunges the state criminal record in the process. So that's something we're asking the president to use in that pardon of innocence. There's an entire section on the pardon of innocence in here, including the language of the pardon. So that is one of the 3 specific types of pardons, and we think the vast majority of people deserve that pardon because they were innocent that day. They walked in through open doors, Dale, past officers who were welcoming them in. They had no idea they were doing anything illegal, and they went home. And so the vast majority of them were genuinely innocent, and they should have a pardon that stipulates that.
Okay. All right. Can you go through the other steps real quickly here?
Yeah, I can. I just will mention the 3 types of pardons really quickly. There's, of course, the traditional type of pardon. There's also something called an absolute pardon, and that allows for future charges to occur. And I know there are some people that people are concerned about, people like Raymond Epps, perhaps, to drop a name, that they are concerned they did stuff that day that deserve actual charges, and they do not want a pardon preventing that. There is a way to remedy his wrongful charges, should the president choose to pardon every single J6er. Through an absolute pardon that will allow future charges if necessary. So we've thought through that as well. But with that proclamation style pardon, we are asking the president to issue commutations simultaneously, because commutations are actually going to go faster for those individuals, Dale, who are currently incarcerated. That process of having your sentence commuted and getting actually out into the free world again goes much faster than the pardon process itself. So we're asking Trump to issue simultaneous pardons and commutations. And then the 4th step, which is so critical, executive orders. Everybody who is pre-trial does not need a pardon, Dale. They need their charges dropped, the record cleaned, and they go home, and they do not have that conviction over their heads for the rest of their life. A pardon, while it does remedy a lot of things, it is a second best option to acquittal, to innocence, to reversal in court, to a court decision in their favor. That's the best outcome for anybody in a legal situation. But the pardon actually is sort of that second best. We're hoping that with that executive order, everybody pre-trial will have their charges dropped and certainly have the benefits of that. As well as President Trump will need to rectify the veterans situation. The Veterans Administration, the VA, has cut off the benefits of these veterans, Dale, from the moment that they are arrested. They have not been convicted in a court of law. They are innocent until proven guilty in our system. But according to the Veterans Administration, not only are they not allowed to receive those benefits, but the Veterans Administration has actually sued J6 defendants for back benefits up to the date of their arrest.
And there were a lot of veterans involved in this, weren't there?
Hundreds, definitely hundreds of veterans, and many of those were the ones who got some of the most egregious charges, Dale, because of the fact that those are the folks who are trained to react when people are at harm, when people are at risk. And when we saw officers shooting rubber bullets directly at the face of individuals using deadly force unlawfully, as I've seen in court in the government's own video footage myself, many hours of it, I've actually seen too many, when they fired flash grenades at individuals, when they fired pepper spray in exorbitant amounts, causing asphyxiation. Individuals like law enforcement, like military, they are trained to defend the innocent, and they stepped in to do so, and many of them are sitting in jail for assault charges against officers who were truly the ones that assaulted people that day, and who caused the death, and in fact in some cases murdered, as we see in the final step, four individuals who were murdered that day, killed, and Brian Signick, the officer who died the next day from his condition. You know, those individuals lost their lives because of the police brutality, because of the failure of security. And in the case of Ashley Babbitt, she was shot, directly murdered by Michael Byrd, who lurked in a hallway rather than the officers there containing the situation as they should, protect the facility. They had no reason to shoot her. and they shot her in cold blood. She died. She was murdered that day in the Capitol, as was Roseanne Boylan, who was at the tunnel, was asphyxiated, was crushed, and then was beaten repeatedly by Officer Lila Morris with a stick repeatedly until blood came out of her nose. And then she was not provided medical care. She died there at the Capitol that day. As did Benjamin Phillips, Kevin Greason, who died from their medical conditions that did not receive medical care promptly because of the failure of Capitol Police.
Now,
So
how about the
died that day
suicide?
from
How about the
malnutrition.
suicides that have occurred since then? Are
Yes,
they
the many
included? Would they be included?
suicides, and frankly, some cases some cases of individuals who are J6ers who are deceased that look very suspicious. Motorcycle accidents, other incidences that frankly, I as we look at these deaths that occurred in addition to the suicides, I have grave concern as to what caused those deaths. So, in some cases, directly denying medical treatment while holding a J6er pre-trial has led to a deterioration in their medical condition that has led to a fatality. So
Wow.
the government is complicit in many ways in the death of these individuals. Yes.
Okay. All right. Now, quickly here, Suzanne, I know that there were some that there were some violent charges. I call this violent charges, but there were some people that did act violently, right? I mean, where
well,
we
certainly,
understand.
and what I would recommend to folks to get a real sense of what happened that day, to go to stophate.com and watch many of their documentaries, particularly the J6 A True Timeline, which lays out the events of that day specifically in the timeline. So you can really grasp how a crowd that was entirely peaceful could get to a point where we have so many veterans, law enforcement officers, etc., with assault charges against police officers. And certainly that understanding the timeline makes a huge amount of difference, because what we're really talking about when we're talking about violent people versus nonviolent people, what we're talking about with regards to the law is that assault charge, 18 USC 111A1. And in particular, what we're talking about, Dale, is 111A1 and B. And B is that enhancement that adds with a deadly weapon or causing bodily injury. What we're seeing in these J6 cases, these so many J6 cases, is that most of these assault charges, these 111A1 charges, there is no evidence that the officer was harmed in any way. There might be no evidence, no video evidence of the alleged assault. It may be as minimal as someone was falling in a crowd and they grabbed a hold of the police officer's shield in the fall. Could be considered an assault and has been charged as an assault. So the vast majority of the folks who have that A1, there is no evidence they hurt anybody or even hit anybody. So that's a large percentage of what we'd call the violent charges. There are only 70 individuals who have that A1, 111A1 and B. And of those individuals, many of them only have that one charge. It's easy to look at and see, and frankly, see very quickly that is a self-defense situation. These individuals were defending themselves, or in many cases, defending the lives of others.
Okay. All right. You've really researched this a great deal, haven't
Yes, sir.
you?
Yes, sir, I have.
Yes.
Yes.
Folks, I think we could probably go on for hours with Suzanne here with all the information that she has stored in her mind. But unfortunately, we don't have that amount of time. Tell us, we're calling it the Pardon Task Force, right? That's who the task force that President Trump will put together. Am I right?
President Trump in several speeches has promised, obviously, to pardon J6ers on day one. He's promised to pardon other political prisoners as well, and he said he will put together a task force. He said this in many speeches throughout the year, that he will put together a task force. So we are looking forward to that, and that will obviously be under the Attorney General, because it is their role through the U.S. Pardon Attorney that also sits under the Attorney General to handle the process. So we are looking forward to that task force being formed. We've certainly been in all of the conversations about who is AG. We were certainly very excited about Matt Gaetz. We had a lot of connections in a Matt Gaetz AG. We certainly are now hunting our connections and certainly, looking through our Rolodexes to see how we connect up with Pam Bondi, which we are excited also to work with. But as she is forming her team, there will be the individuals who form this task force, and they will be responsible and tasked with looking through these cases and reviewing them. As the president has said many times, he intends to review these cases. Now, I understand that 1,565 cases, that sounds like a lot of work. But as we've said, there are 318 of those that are pretrial. So now we're already down, to 1,200 and something.
Right.
That number gets whittled very quickly.
So you don't have any idea who's going to be on this task force at this point?
No, and I don't think Pam even knows because she just got the job today,
Yeah.
Dale. I feel like, that's been some of the thing that I think people are very, and I understand since the election, people are very excited, but the J6 community is really chomping at the bit to get that justice that they've been expecting all along. And so I know they're certainly hoping that moves very quickly, but we all have to be realistic. These teams, these agencies need time. People need time to be brought together. And so, Pam just got picked. We're looking forward in the next days and weeks here, maybe even before Thanksgiving, to have some good idea about who she'll be using to head up such a task force.
Okay. Well, as with all of these groups that we've interviewed as part of the support network, you need donations. So right on the very, very home page of your website, down at the very bottom, you can click on make a donation, and this is where you can click to donate. And
and Dale, we appreciate you mentioning that. What we have used the funds that we have raised so far throughout the year to print the book, obviously, and to ship this out to many individuals, members of Congress, Laura Trump, Michael Watley, so many individuals we've mailed this out to, as well as travel expenses to get to events where I need to speak about the project, which has been certainly helpful to do so. And we're now getting to the phase where we want to continue to get this book into the hands of other J6 defendants. So that is one thing that we are using these funds for, as well as to continue the mission of this project and get this database into the hands of Pam Bondi's team of the Pardon Task Force, and to make sure that we are developing that communication so no J6er gets left behind. Dale, that's what's so critical. There are 1,565, and probably when I go to sleep and wake up tomorrow, there'll be another few, because they keep arresting individuals. Even
they are still arresting people, aren't they?
They are still arresting. They are still trying people. They are still moving forward with sentences. They are still moving forward with requiring people to surrender themselves for their sentences. So the witch hunt and the weaponization and the attack, the lawfare attack against these American citizens has not stopped, and it will not stop until Trump sits in that chair on January 20th.
Well, this is if I recall right, this is a day one promise that he's made. I don't know, if it will all get done on day one, but he will certainly initiate the process. He said,
well, Dad, we've tried to make it easier by doing President Trump's homework for him. So, keep us in your prayers, certainly. And feel free to reach out to President Trump. You can email him at 45office.com. Let him know how important pardons are to you. This is something that you really do care about, that you want these individuals to get the justice they deserve, and continuing to put that pressure and that encouragement from President Trump, I think, will make a huge difference.
All right. Excellent. Well, Pam's the new AG, hopefully. But Suzanne, I want to thank you for coming on and talking to us about this. And I just want to thank you for the job that you're doing here. I've, like I said, I've talked to some J6ers. I've discovered the network out there that exists to support these J6ers. I've been just overwhelmed by it, quite honestly. And I'm really, really looking forward, as you are, to day one and to see these people, some justice come to these people, because they have really suffered. They have really suffered. So,
well, and we certainly aren't gonna. Day one won't be the end of it. We're gonna make sure that these individuals have the services they need, the support they need to get their jobs back, their lives back. That they have so many needs after that day one. They're going to be a lot of folks.
That's a good point. This is a long-term project. This is not just a day one thing.
Yeah.
So, all right, Suzanne. Once again, thank you very much for coming on and talking to us about the J6 Pardon Project, folks.
Thank you for having me, Dale.
Thank you. Well, folks, it's time to close out on our final broadcast for 2024. I hope you've enjoyed our program this evening. Just a few things that I want to mention before as we close out. Number one is our next broadcast, COS Today, will be on January 6th, 2025. Happy New Year, everyone. And I'm planning on doing a J6 Pardon Project update based on, of course, that this once again, this project is going to directly help President Trump with one of his day one promises of pardoning the J6 defendants. And hopefully we'll have another episode of Truth to Tamara Scott and a COS Basics, all those from John Ackerman. So that's what we have planned for the next broadcast on January 6th. Now, our next roundtable, which will be always on the fourth Monday of every month, is scheduled for January 27th, 2025. This is going to be a very interesting topic. We're going to discuss the 10-point plan to dismantle the deep state. The deep state is, of course, a major topic for us at Convention of States, as far as reining in the breadth and control of the federal government. So we're very, very interested in the deep state. So as we close out, I want to recognize all the individuals in our organization here at COS Today. And first, I want to identify the individuals that comprise our communications team. And those are Ken Kashuba. Of course, you know him as the co-host of COS Today. Ken Kashuba, Charlie Myers, Dale Tipton, Gary Harbaugh, Larry Hartman, Susan Lyon, Diana Tellis, and of course, John Ackerman. Those individuals all comprise our comms team. Now, I also want to identify the various contributors, the individuals that produce content and contribute to the content that we bring you every week. Ken Kashuba, of course, as I mentioned, is the co-host, but Ken is also Maringo Mike. For those of you that may not know that, Ken does Maringo Mike. Debbie Stewart, who is our constitutional expert, and as well as other topics that Debbie is so good at researching and presenting for you. John Ackerman. John does John's Journal, COS Basics, and most recently, the Truth to Tamara Scott episodes. So John's very, very busy for us. And of course, he hosts the roundtable every month. Gary Harbaugh does the Debt Avalanche series. Larry Hudson is handling the Meet the Founders series. Larry does a great deal of research for that series, Meet the Founders. Wendy Olson, you probably haven't seen Wendy very often, but Wendy does the Pillars of Freedom series, and she's the one that most recently brings us all the J6 segments that we do. So she's very, very involved in the J6ers. And of course, Susan Lyon. Susan handles our newsletter, The Finish Line. So hope you all get a chance to see that from time to time. So those are the individuals that comprise the communications team and the individuals that provide all the content that we utilize on our broadcast. So I just want to finalize our this last episode, this last broadcast for you for 2024. Once again, I want to wish you all a very happy and safe New Year's. 2024 has been an outstanding year for COS Today. As you might know, COS Today is our new name. It used to be convention our COS Indiana Live, and we're transitioning to a new name, COS Today, and we're going to continue to try and address topics beyond the state of Indiana. So I hope you'll, once again, I want to thank you for everything that you've done for us this year, and really looking forward to an outstanding year in 2025. So with that, folks, I want to say good night to you and looking forward to seeing you in 2025.